Hey guys, thanks for joining the Raise the Roof podcast today. Super excited to have you on. Just one thing that I wanted to say is I'm actually out on site at one of our projects that we have going on in Bettendorf, Iowa. Whole new roof siding and gutters situation going on here. They actually ended up tearing off some of the brick facade that was originally there, installing some shake and some siding. It's going to look really good. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the interview that we had today. I actually had a little bit of audio trouble at the beginning, so that's kind of frustrating. But this conversation that I had with Garrett Tuttle, who's one of our sales managers at R3, was a great interview. He has lots of great information to say. You're going to hear some of the things that he says, and if you're a salesperson, whether in the roofing industry or anywhere else, you're going to want to take some of the things that he says and you're going to want to apply them to your day-to-day. Because Garrett was a high performer and still is a high performer. Now he's managing other high performers. And so take a listen to what Garrett has to say in this interview.
So within your first year, you became the top grossing salesman. I remember you started a few years ago, and you started in February, which is not a great selling month.
No,
but you quickly became the top grossing salesman. What were you doing early on that because now you're training, that you see most reps are not doing?
I think the biggest thing that I was doing was just the act of reaching out to every single person I knew. Mm-hmm. Where our leads are generalized off of canvassing, social media, stuff like that. When I first started, that was not an option, really. Usually as a rep then, you didn't get a canvasser for a while until you proved yourself. So I went to every single neighborhood that I was familiar with. I went to the neighborhood I grew up in. I went to the neighborhood I lived in. I went to my grandparents' neighborhood, everything that I could. And it was honestly just from watching bits and pieces of stuff online where you need something to relate the homeowner to. So, hey, Miss Johnson, hey, remember me? I'm Garrett. I grew up across the street. And I just knocked. And I would wake up every single morning. Then it was around 7. Now it's much earlier. And I would go through what we call a funnel in Job Nimbus and going through everything, every person that I knew, inputting them in and just doing follow-ups. And then I would set all my inspections after 12, and then my contracts were late at night. And the reason I created my contracts late at night is I wasn't losing hours knocking or following up with leads. Late at night, it's kind of like a reward going home. Okay, I'm gonna go sign 2 contracts before I go home. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I see just a little bit different. And obviously it's a mindset too. Mm-hmm. You have to want to be successful.
Yeah. So there was that drive,
Yes.
like, hey, I want to do this. And part of it is probably I need to do this, right? This is my job. This is for my livelihood. And so there was this grind. What people often assume that there's this talent. Now, you mentioned earlier when we first started talking that, just how you talk to people. You just said relating to people.
Yep.
And a lot of people assume that it's just a person who is talented over the process. How much of your success came from your personality versus the processes that were in R3?
I would say probably 60% personality and then 40% just the process. And the reason I say that is you'll have people come in, and it kind of goes back and forth. You'll have people come in with great personalities. They just don't understand the process. Mm-hmm. They don't understand what's going on. You have some people come in that they have great personalities, but they don't understand the process in return too. So it's more of, it has to be 60-40, but mm-hmm. you have to have a good personality in sales, and you got to be positive because mm-hmm. you're going to have days that just straight up suck.
The process is important. I mean, 40% is still important. If you don't have any process and your only personality, you're probably not going to get as much as you had. If your only process is,
but you don't have a good personality,
you're not going to get as much
you're
as.
Not going to go too far.
Yeah, and so if we could shadow you, if I could shadow you, just on one high performing day back then, what would I see you doing consistently?
I had a habit of being on the phone for 12 hours of the day.
Yeah.
I would make a ton of phone calls, a lot of inspections. One thing that I noticed that I did, and I actually got it from YouTube, was if I was to set an appointment, and I didn't know this, no one in the company had showed me this at the time, But if I would set an appointment, I would do all the whole inspection, and while I was on the roof, I would look for other people that were home in the neighborhood. And then that's the house I would go knock. And I can think of 4 just on one block that I was able to get that way. So it's just waking up, making all those phone calls, setting your schedule for the day, sending text reminders to the homeowners, hey, I'll be there, showing up, do the full inspection. At that point in time, I didn't really know how to document damage, but I mean, I was taking a million photos and I didn't know of what, just something. And just following it until the sun went down. That's what every single day looked like. And less Sundays. I try to take Sundays off for football.
Yeah. So on the phone all the time. And actually now you're a sales manager and, we'll have conversations and stuff like that. And it seems like every time you're like in the middle of a conversation, you got to look at your phone. Who, which homeowner, which rep is calling me, which rep is texting me. What are we looking at here? So always on the phone. But that is part of what made you so successful, is because you had that drive and you were trying to, hey, who can I talk to next? How can I talk to this person next? How can we help them get a new roof? So one of the things that we know, and I'm sure you've learned this, but in roofing sales live and die by trust. And we've had conversations before because, in my position where I would be communicating to homeowners and there would be, sometimes it's not the best communication.
Yeah.
And that trust hurts, as far as getting the next lead as a referral or something like that. But we live and die by trust. And one of the things that is hard for homeowners to understand is sometimes their insurance claim. I mean, there's a lot of lines, there's a lot of information on there. And obviously, as a roofing company, we really have no say in the insurance claim. We can't negotiate or anything like that. But what we can do is educate the homeowner on their insurance claim and just let them know, hey, your insurance missed this few things. Like, what was it like? How did you help homeowners understand their insurance claims?
The first thing would be, once that estimate comes back, really understanding, I guess, what we call code, understanding the building codes, what needs to be on there. I think what I did that was a little bit better up front is I really dove into that language so I would understand it. That way, when I looked at an estimate, I could tell the homeowner, like, hey, the insurance company forgot to put ice and water barrier on here. Like, that needs to be on here. Yes, we can, send in a supplement for it because it's code, but I don't want any surprises for you. So here's what ice and water barrier is. If you want to send this over to the insurance company and have them add it, once again, it is code. And I would even send them the code so they knew exactly what I was talking about, just to kind of stay away from the surprises of, them giving us a call. Hey, there's a $1,500 charge on here. What's it for? Well, remember, Miss Johnson, we did talk about the ice and water barrier. It is code. To kind of avoid that as much as I could, I would just try to get what was code approved or help with them with that.
Yeah. And so since it's code, as a roofing company, we actually have to install it regardless of whether or not the insurance is going to pay for it. So whether it's flashing or ice and water or anything code related that you can think of, we have to install it.
Absolutely.
So if insurance doesn't pay for it, we're out that money. So we do want to educate the homeowner in the front and say, listen, like, this is something that we have to do. Your insurance are not professional roofers, so they're not gonna get everything.
Correct, yeah.
So they might miss something. But I think what the important thing is, like, number one, you educated yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of people are doing that.
No, just from on the manager side, a lot of the guys we bring on, I really try to hire outside of the roofing industry. I really do. And this. But I mean, I try to hire people I know have great integrity that I can trust, as well as people I know who want to be better. It's always that drive of, I want to be better. I want to be 1% better today than yesterday. I try to look for that in every person that I hire. So I really strive for outside the roofing industry. You're coming in green, everything that you're taught, that's the only way you know how. Or what I've seen from other roofing companies, we bring in other reps. They've made those big years. They've made that money. So what happens is people become lackadaisical and don't show up to work and don't push it as hard. Why? Because they don't have to, right? They know the game. They know, what adjusters do this, insurance does this. They know the in and outs, and they really tweak it, I would say, to have as much free time as they do. In return are losing the company profit, and as well as their paychecks are taking a hit. But like I said, that's because they just don't care anymore.
They're over it. I think also when you bring in another rep who's already been in the industry, they often have bad habits.
Yes.
And again, so we're talking about like R3's sales processes are so much different than everybody else's. And even from a production standpoint or finishing or collection, whatever, everything is different than other roofing companies. So most of the time, if we try to bring in another rep, it's not that they're not going to do good. It's that they don't trust the process,
right?
And they don't understand the process.
I kind of relate it to golf, right? If you've been golfing for 15 years, you have bad habits. It's really hard to correct that swing. But if you bring someone off the streets who's maybe never swung a golf club, or maybe just once or twice, you can correct their swing a lot better. And it's the same exact thing. You bring a guy in that's done this for 15 years. I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong by any means, but like you said, it's habits, and those habits are hard to correct after so long.
Yeah, and then you're stuck trying to train the bad habits and be like, hey, you can't do this. But they're like, hey, I've done this for so long. It made me successful. And so it is different. But also we've seen a lot of sales reps come and be successful. They had that good personality, but then they followed the processes and it made them successful. And I think that's why there's retention this year because we stuck with it, hired guys with high integrity who are driven and understand processes. And here we go. So I think that's pretty awesome. So one of the things that as a salesperson, I know you've had to do is you've had to handle those objections. And every salesperson has to handle objections. No matter what kind of objection comes up, you have to be able to think on your feet, think quickly, and be able to respond and basically take away those objections. So what objections used to throw you off early? What were some things that you struggled with early?
I think the biggest thing, I need to talk to my spouse, or
that's literally every person
probably
ever.
the most common one was honestly when you first start was in the insurance game, everyone thinks that you need 5, 10, 15 bids. That's not how insurance works. So me being green to it, I didn't really know that. I didn't really understand that part of how the estimations work from the insurance company. A lot of homeowners, when, they think, okay, if the insurance gave me $22,000 for my roof and I just and I get this roof done for $18,000, I pocket that money. That's what they all think, but that's not how it works. So I guess, learning on my end at the very beginning, like, listen, Miss Jones, if they give you $22,000 for this roof, if we do this roof for $16,000, you're not pocketing that money. They're just gonna take it off on the back end, and that's what you're gonna get. That's probably the biggest objection, along with the I need to talk to my spouse, which, I mean, for me, being married, I totally understand. But a lot of that is making sure you're leaving enough information for the spouse to communicate, or even directly talking to the spouse. Like, hey, I don't want to play the telephone game. Here's all the information. You talk to, Miss Jones, and then I'll get a hold of you guys tomorrow. And I think also that directive, what I do a little bit different is I don't wait for that call. I'm calling you. Right? It shouldn't take more than, an hour-long conversation to know the information that I provide to you and how we're going to move on from there.
So, you're trying to sell me a roof. You're getting to that point. So when would you hear that objection? I need to talk to my spouse.
Honestly, after the inspection.
Okay, so you got the inspection.
Everything's documented. You come down, you present it to whatever homeowner's home, and talk about, hey, this is actual claimable damage, and I believe this is over your deductible. If I was you, I would suggest, making a claim. Once again, that's your decision, but you do have claimable damage here. Matter of fact, you had a hailstorm come through here 3 months ago that probably did this damage, or wind damage. A windstorm came through here 2 months ago. I would definitely make this claim. The biggest objection is always, I need to talk to my spouse, or even I don't want my premiums going up. I don't want to claim on my record. Those are the most common ones.
So if we're in that position right now, let's role play a little bit, right? So you're talking to me, you get down off the roof, and you're like, hey, Drew, just found all this damage. Here was a storm. Here's your information. I think you should make the claim. I just say, hey, Garrett, I think thanks for all this information. Thanks for getting up on my roof, but I think I need to talk to my wife. How are you going to respond?
I would say, what would you want to talk to him about? And the first thing you're going to tell me is, well, making the claim.
Yeah, I want to make sure that she wants to make the claim.
What more information can I provide to you so when you do talk to him or her, you have everything in front of you? Do you want me to email this over to you? Do you want me to text you over all the pictures? Do you want me to send you over like all the estimated damage dates that this could have happened so you guys can go back through your files or go back and look at it? What more information can I provide to you to make that conversation as easy as possible for you? Also for me, Miss Jones, because you're going to call me because I forgot to tell you something, or maybe it wasn't enough, and we're going to be clarifying this on the phone about 12 hours from now. So what else can I make you sure of? And that's always where I go with it.
Yeah.
And usually it's, that's when you get to the root of the problem, right? Because you've given them as much information as you can. You've showed them every photo. But that's how you're going to get to the root. Yeah, well, I'm going to talk to them about, the deductible. Understandable. People want to know what their deductible is. Yep. Honestly, I can tell you the national average on a deductible is $1,500. I can't say what your policy is. I have no idea without looking at it. I can just give you a rough estimate what I think it could be. Once again, I don't know the policy you bought into.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say you guys do not have a $15,000 deductible.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, it's not that high. It's not that high. So then you get to the root. It's the deductible. Well, and we really don't want the insurance to go up. Well, Miss Jones, that's really not how it works. See, if you make a claim and it's an act of God, your premiums aren't going to go up. But what's going to happen is that if everyone on this block or collective distance makes claims due to storm-related damage, the insurance company has no choice but to raise the premiums. So as long as every single neighbor on the street doesn't get a roof and another 20 in the next half-mile radius, your premiums aren't going to go up. And then I always make the joke, but what will make your premiums go up is, Miss Jones, if you sit in your driveway, maybe have a beer or two and hit your garage, that would raise your premiums. That's something that you did, right?
Yeah.
And then, so then we've addressed those two issues. But if you always approach it with, what more information can I provide? Then they're going to tell you, maybe another picture. And then I say, well, what else would you want to talk about? Just so I can leave that with you.
So you're trying to take away those objections and give them as much information as possible.
Not only just take them away, but addressing them to where, okay, when you do talk to your spouse and, you look up what your deductible is. Oh, Garrett wasn't wrong. Our deductible is only $2,000, right? He said it wasn't going to be very high. Or it's doing research online. He was right. My premiums are going to go up because this is an act of God. This is a weather-related incident. He was right. So then you get the call back. Or when I call them back, we talked about it. If you want to come over and sit down and we'll go through everything.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So got the objections. You handled those, handled them pretty quickly because there was just a steady improvement over the months that you from when you started. Now, did you ever hit a slump? No. And that's because you stayed on the phone. I mean, you had yourself organized from day one.
Yeah.
And you never stopped that, right?
No, I've never had what we call a bad month ever.
Yeah. So I know you kind of walked us through that routine, some of your routines. Walk us through one more time, your daily routine, but then kind of include, because sales is an emotional roller coaster. You can get told no. Yeah. How did you stay on routine while riding the roller coaster?
On to the next.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to just volume. If you want to make good money in sales, if you want to have a good living, you have to have high volume. And just like any day at any other job, you're going to have those days where honestly shit just sucks, right? You get told no three times, on to the next, on to the next. To the next. If you have the mentality of every single time you get told no, you're gonna have a bad day. You're not gonna go far. And that's not just with sales. That's with everything in life. So, but if you can use it as, I would quote unquote say, fuel. Okay, well, you know what I'm gonna do? They told me no. Their roof was really bad. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go talk to their neighbor. I'm gonna get their neighbor approved
for roof siding and gutters, and their whole house is gonna look better.
And their whole house is gonna look better, and then they're going to ask, hey, who did your stuff? Oh, Garrett did. And it leaves them, I think, that moment of doubt in themselves. Maybe we should have just trusted him. if you just use the nose, excuse me, as fuel, you can make every day good. And that's the mentality that I've had the entire time.
I love that. Use the nose, feel on to the next one.
Yep.
So when you started, and you, like I said, you were shopping other roofing companies. I myself have been a part of other roofing companies, and I've seen differences. But from your perspective, what makes the sales training process? Now, look, you and your team, you've done a lot to change this over the last year.
Yeah.
But what was the difference back then when you started? And then we'll talk about what you've done to change things. But what was the difference that you saw in the sales training process?
As opposed to like when I started to now, or like
so when you were looking at other companies, but like
comparing the companies.
yeah.
Honestly, there was no training at the other companies. It was more the one company I talked with. I went into training. I kind of wanted to know like what that training would look like. They were going to offer me the job, so I got sent over about a 2-page piece of paper that basically said like, this is what you do. And then I remember I asked like about the shadowing phase, like, am I gonna get on the roofs with anyone? Well, no, we'll just send you some photos and a YouTube video to watch of what hail looks like. And I was like, okay, that's a little unorthodox, because I didn't know a single thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you anything about shingles then. So I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing if that happened. What was a little bit different was the sales manager that was here, and now he's in our Des Moines office, Max. He did a phenomenal job. His communication with me is what really kept me on, or kept me striving, because there would be times where I'd get on a roof and I would FaceTime him and be like, dude, I don't know if this is a blister. I don't know if this is hail. What is this? Or is this just old granule loss? I think, and even him getting on, he probably got on the first 5 or 6 roofs with me. His knowledge, because he's done it for so long, he was just very laid back. He didn't make me feel like I was a bother to him.
Yeah.
I would ask questions, and him just sticking with me. And he's the one who interviewed me. And when I left here from that interview, kind of knowing Max a little bit personally in the past, he just made me feel welcome. Like, dude, no matter what you do here, we're going to make you successful. And that's what kind of drove me to stick with it. I remember one other roofing company, the very first one that I interviewed with, I asked about the training, and he's like, you just do it on the fly. I'm like, that's not going to work, right? Not if you want to be successful.
Yeah. Long-term successful, especially because you're going to get questions and concerns, and you're going to have an answer. And when you don't have an answer, you're screwed.
No. You're stuck then, right? And then what I found, when you don't have those answers, right, and what I've seen just shadowing other reps, you start to like create your own narrative, and you're trying to fill that gap in. And you're not meaning to white lie or anything like that, but that happens because you're trying to make it make sense in your head. And there's no way you'll know every single question, right? Every single answer. There's no way. But if you can just blatantly say, hey, I know the little bit about this for that, I'll get the answer and I'll come back to you and get the correct.
Yeah. And I think that's what has set you apart, is because let's just say you did get a job at one of those other companies. I'm pretty confident that one way or another, you would have figured it out, just because, I mean, even coming here, you said I was on YouTube watching videos, and you were trying to better yourself in the midst of training. So while, even though Max did a wonderful job and he was communicative and he showed you the ins and the outs, I mean, you still had stuff to learn, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't be with you every step of the way.
And there's no way that he was going to teach me everything that he knew.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, because he's got years of experience and you're coming in for just a couple
Fresh
months.
off the streets, man. I had no idea.
So that does make a difference, and it really does make a difference to have somebody with all that knowledge who doesn't make you feel like, hey, why don't you know this already?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if he came in, that's great that he came in like that. So then you spent an entire year becoming the top salesman in R3 roofing and exteriors, and your drive, your discipline, basically catapulted you into like R3 was like, hey, we need to keep this guy as a manager. We need him to find guys like him and then train them and build a sales team that can stick. Yeah. And so now that you're training these reps, What's the first mindset shift that you try to instill to these guys before you even talk numbers or scripts?
I think that's where it's a little bit different. I look for people who already kind of have that driven mindset. I can tell usually within the first 15, 20 seconds of speaking with, a new rep or whatever. It's just something in them, that they want to do better. And it's more of those conversations when they're talking to me like, no, I want to do better. I want to make this much. I want to do it like this. They already have that strategic plan that they're not going to allow themselves to fail. So I just kind of was still in them like, if you treat this like a 9 to 5, if you don't take, weeks off at a time, if you're not taking multiple days off a week and you just grind honestly, it's 8-month grind and you get 3 months off. Right. If you grind for 3 months, give it everything you have, you're going to have so much money by the time of the end of the year. That 3 months isn't going to hurt you. You're probably going to go on vacation. You're probably going to go away. Then you're going to come back and we're going to do it again. But it's the guys who don't put that grind in through the year, then you have those issues.
So how many cop buddies have you hired?
3.
So 3 guys. And who was the first one?
The first one was Travis.
Okay, so Travis, he's going to be on the podcast. We're going to interview him. He is now the setter trainer, right?
Yeah,
he trains the setters for. Okay, so he is, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. I think that's going to be great. I was chatting with him a little bit yesterday about some things, and I'm excited about that. So that he was the first domino, and then I'm guessing like those other 2 were probably like, Travis, is this real? Is Garrett real?
Absolutely.
And they were trying to figure it out. And of course, Travis did a pretty good job his first year.
Yeah, he did.
His first year too.
He started probably midway through the first year, and that first year he made more than his salary.
Yeah.
Wow. What is it? Probably 5 months.
5 months. Yeah. Half a year he's making more than his salary. So now, how many other guys have you hired that were just your friends? Or just like people you knew? Or was this mostly interviews?
We brought Logan in. Travis helped me with that. Logan's a childhood friend. Once again, another guy who worked in law enforcement. Wanted something more. Wanted to stop clocking in. And he does great too. But he already kind of had that mindset where he wanted something bigger.
So that's the thing. So you're surrounding yourself with these guys who already have this mindset, and then it's really easy to bring them on to be like, okay, now you have years of experience of it. You have a few friends who are vouching for this experience, and they're like, hey, this is working. This is awesome. But so these guys, if they want to succeed at R3, you kind of spoke to this early, but what's one mistake that will absolutely hold them back if they don't fix it early?
Complacency. Complacency is the biggest thing. Even though every single rep that we have now is super successful, you can still see the complacency sometimes. And I have struggled, I could say, on a manager standpoint of maybe not being aggressive enough attacking that. And maybe I went overboard sometimes. And I'll be the first one to say there's been conversations I've had with reps. They're uncomfortable for me. They're uncomfortable for the rep. But it's not because, that I have something to prove as a manager. It's more, I want them to be so successful. And when they look back on it 3 years from now, like, damn, I am glad I made that jump. I am so glad Garrett stayed on me. Because I know, even though I had a killer first year, I know there was days where like I look back on it and maybe I should have worked 1, maybe 2 more hours. Maybe I should have knocked that one door, right? Because you never know, and it's the unknown that sucks, right? It's did I leave $50,000 on the table? Did I leave $100,000 on the table? Did I work this referral good enough? And that's still stuff I think about today from over 2 years ago. So if we could, I don't want them to look back, especially in the winter months when their pay is basically cut in half. Where I don't want them to be like, man, should I have stayed out 2 more hours? Should I have not taken that whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off? Because every single day you don't work, you lose at least one lead. You're going to be losing referrals. You're going to be losing any potentialness of that day. And in this game in roofing, you can make $2,000, sometimes $3,000 a day. So I just I stay on them, and I try my best to kind of toe that line. But that's more because I don't want them to live in regret.
Yeah, no, and one thing that I will say is I have absolutely noticed that there's so many times throughout the course of especially this last year as you've been the manager is like you fight for your guys. You desperately want them to be successful.
Absolutely.
And that I think that's really cool. So let's just talk about that as we're closing up here. I want to know what are some of the things that you noticed needed to be changed in the sales management side of things where you're training.
Honestly, structure. Everyone wants to know what they're doing, when they're doing it, how they're doing it. If you can create a structure, then it makes it so much easier for the reps to follow through, right? We do a little bit of training in the winter, and that's more so I can see your face, so I know what's going on in your life, make sure everything's good with you. We're training over stuff they already know, right? But we always have a refresher course. We're going back and forth, learning new things. We just currently sent every single rep through HAG training, at-home HAG training, get paid to do it. It's more of showing that investment in your people. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you don't have people, you don't have a company. But if you have happy employees who want to work for you, they want to do better for you, they want to do better for the management, like they're gonna grind their ass off. And I think one thing that we did that was a little bit different was really start investing more in our people and giving them the best training that possible. R3 was very, very nice to the reps and took us all down to Marco Island for training. We were there. We learned a lot of different stuff, and every single guy on the teams that I've talked to is so grateful for that. It shows that they're willing to invest into the people that we have. And another thing is like attending those conferences, we learned that everything these, $100 million companies are doing, we're already doing it. So it's more of that. Now they have more belief in the company. Hey, we're on the right direction.
We're in the right,
we're
in the
going
right path
up from here.
Yeah. That's awesome. And one thing too is like we're talking about a lot of the good things that happened over the last year, right? There's a lot of downs too.
Yes.
And I don't think we want to sit and talk about those. But the point of that is there's always, when you're working in sales, when you're working in service, whatever industry you're working in, there's always going to be downtimes. And what I've noticed is that we're able to change, not just for change's sake, but for growth. Like we're trying to grow, and growing is uncomfortable and it's not easy. And so I think we get through these, if we can teach and train these guys that, hey, we're getting through an uncomfortable stage, we're growing, we're having new problems that we didn't expect from last year, and we're constantly growing. I think that if we can continue in teaching these guys and keeping them together, there is absolutely there's no one that can hang with us, right?
Just being on the management side and then visiting with other roofing companies, and I promise I'm not biased. I know I'm not. I think we have collectively the best team that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been same thing. I've been a part of quite a few others, and there's not been anything close. And there's been issues everywhere, but the growth mindset is what is different.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, it's growing pains, right? If you're growing, you're gonna have issues like you said that have never came up before. But it's how do you address these issues to make sure either they're not going to happen again or we're going to mitigate them, right? Like next time, if this does happen, it won't be this big of a deal. It's strategically trying to fix those issues while making the company grow. Like we're running into issues because we are growing so fast with reps. Like that's it. And then like I explained it to them, that's freaking great, right? Like you guys are watching this company grow within a year, I think. I mean, I would say we probably grew like 20%, right? Maybe even closer to 30. So are good problems to have.
Yeah.
And
it just keeping them from thinking that it's a problem, but it is growing pain.
Yeah.
Growing pain doesn't necessarily mean that it's a problem, but if you leave it unchecked and try to change with that growth,
then it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah.
But if you are checking it, if you strategically find out ways how to make this go away, or hey, like let's make this not hurt as bad next time, then I think you're doing it the right way.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, Garrett, thank you for the time on this podcast. That was an awesome conversation to have. So this has been the Raise the Roof podcast by R3 with Garrett. We're gonna interview one of the people he hired who has stayed on and has done a lot to help and change and grow the setter side of things as well. Looking forward to that. Travis is going to be on here pretty soon. I got to get with him on that. But this has been a great episode. Garrett, thanks for being on.